Masataka Yoshida may be making his way back to the Boston Red Sox, but where exactly does he fit on this team? More on that on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free, so you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. We are one more day into the season, and the Red Sox won a series against the Tampa Bay Rays after winning a tight 1-0 game last night. A lot of that was primarily due to the bullpen, who retired 13 of the last 14 batters that came to the plate. They all looked sharp. Greg Weisser, Justin Slayton, Garrett Whitlock, they all helped pull their weight after Sean Newcomb was pulled in the fifth inning, who also looked very good, pitching a shutout into the fifth. The best stuff that we've seen from him so far since being in a Boston Red Sox uniform this year. And he got a lot more swing and miss stuff. So that was really nice to see. So lots of good things. The Red Sox locked it down, won the series. And the exciting thing about this Red Sox team right now, despite the fact that it's been frustrating as of late, is that reinforcements are coming. They have Bello and Hendriks likely to be returning soon. David Hamilton finally broke out of his slump last night with a home run. So I'm going to be talking about all of that on today's show. And speaking of guys who could be coming back, Masataka Yoshida, a guy who's fit with this team, has been questioned for the entirety of the offseason, is getting close now to the point where he could come back to the Boston Red Sox. And it's a mystery to everybody, really, where he's going to play when he comes back. He was placed on the IL to start the season. He underwent surgery to repair his labrum in October. And while he can swing a bat, his throwing progression is still what's holding him back. Yoshida played in spring training games with the Red Sox as a DH as Rafael Devers recovered from shoulder injuries. And he batted .286 with a .286 on base percentage and .400 slugging with a home run over 11 games. Nearly a month after his final spring training game, he still remains in Fort Myers working toward a rehab assignment. And reporters asked Alex Cora if the outfielder is approaching a rehab stint, and he said just not yet. So he didn't really go into a lot of detail on it, but it didn't sound like it was in the immediate future. Now, when his timetable for return may not be clear, they still have indicated that he won't return until he's able to make throws from the outfield, which is where the Red Sox intend to play him this season, despite previous concerns about the quality of his defense. And I think the sole reason for that, for the Red Sox saying that they want to play him in the outfield, is because now they have Rafael Devers as the full-time DH. So what are they going to do? Pull Devers? He's not going to play over Devers, that's for sure. So it doesn't really make sense to have him be the DH anymore. So the only other place that he could play would be in the outfield. But with a stacked outfield that right now has primarily Ceddanne Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu, and Jarren Duran in it, all really good defenders out there who are far and away better defenders than Yoshida, what would sticking Yoshida in the outfield do for this Red Sox team? I'm inclined to feel like it would do more harm than good because he has shown that he struggles defensively. And that was the whole reason why the Red Sox pulled him out of the outfield last year, was because they didn't feel confident enough in his abilities with the glove. So that remains a question, is if he does come back and they want him to play in the outfield, what do they do about their current outfield situation? Because either way, they're going to have to start thinking ahead to the future. Also, when Roman Anthony inevitably at some point gets called up, whether that's later on this season or next season, they're going to have to move an outfielder anyway. So would their plan be to move an outfielder now so they can put Yoshida in the outfield and then move somebody else again when Roman Anthony eventually gets called up? Because outside of Saddam Rafaela's offense, every aspect of that Red Sox outfield right now is very strong. I mean, you get strong offensive and defensive productivity from both Duran and Abreu. Then you have Rafaela, who provides exceptional defense and struggles at the plate. But how do you justify pulling one of those players out to put Yoshida in? So that part isn't really necessarily clicking with me in terms of what the fit is. He did have to, this offseason, really prove himself and his abilities as a DH, because even if the Red Sox do decide to put him in the outfield, if they don't feel confident enough in his defense, he's going to have to at least show up at the plate. And it would be really frustrating if not for this Boston Red Sox team. And I had talked about during the offseason that it might make sense to find a trade partner for Yoshida if the Red Sox don't feel like there's a fit anymore. I'm sure they may have shopped around and tried to find a team that would pursue something like that. And then my guess would be they were unable to be successful with that because of what they're paying him relative to the level of productivity that he's brought on the field. So the Red Sox might have had trouble finding a trade partner. So therefore now he's still on the roster and they're sitting here saying, well, where is he supposed to play when he comes back? So that's going to be a challenging thing that the Red Sox do need to figure out. People were wondering about his recovery process during the Red Sox rough offensive streak, because he is known for his ability to get on base and at least make contact, which is something the Red Sox could desperately use as they lead MLB in strikeouts again with 190 right now. And if I'm the Red Sox and the fans, I wouldn't blame people for thinking that some sort of shakeup offensively needs to happen. And I think there were a lot of people out there who felt like Yoshida maybe could provide that shakeup. So they were wondering when he was going to be coming back. He batted .280 with a .349 on base percentage and .415 slugging with 52 strikeouts and 27 walks over 108 games last season. The Red Sox signed him before the 2023 season for his incredibly consistent bat, because he hit .327 with a .421 on base percentage and .539 slugging over his 7 seasons in the Japanese league. And while his production hasn't lived up to expectations in Boston, he's still been a critical bat in the lineup, because he batted .333 with a .411 on base percentage and .487 slugging in July during the Red Sox 2024 hot streak. And Cora said at the time that the Red Sox are elite when he's locked in. It is true that when he's on fire, the Red Sox offense as a whole is, but I'm still not convinced in his ability to be consistent, because he certainly goes on absolute tears at the plate where he's hitting really well and it's very difficult for opposing pitchers to hit to him. But the problem is when he slumps, he really slumps and he can't figure anything out. He still is a little bit of a ground ball merchant, just causes a lot of grounders to the infield in which he gets thrown out at first base. He doesn't make as much hard contact as I think the Red Sox were hoping that he would, because coming from the Japanese league, they thought he was going to hit a lot of home runs because that was kind of what he was known for over there. And so far that part hasn't happened. And so I think from the Red Sox point of view, they're saying, wow, he's definitely underperforming a little bit for what we want to see out of him. But I can't sit here and say that his offense back in the lineup may help, it may not, because I don't want to be that person who says definitively, no, it's not going to help, or yes, it's going to help, because he's all over the place. You don't really know what version of Yoshida you're going to get. And that is the problem that we've had over his first couple seasons here, is that he can be very, very good or very, very bad and unreliable for a certain stretch. And I don't like that. Why doesn't he try to find a happy medium in which he can be consistent a lot of the time? And even if he's not the best hitter on the team, he's at least sustainable and he's at least hitting a little bit more consistently. So it's hard to know which version of him we're going to even get when he comes back. But the real question is going to be, where does he fit? And speaking of fits and where people go on this Red Sox team, 2 pitchers are expected to rejoin the Red Sox soon. So I'm going to be discussing that a little bit next. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6 and 6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Hosts with hardcore gaming experience can share their experience and how Fire TV Stick 4K can be a game changer. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Red Sox get deeper and deeper into their season, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and I'm so happy that it is, because I honestly don't use any other ticketing vendor anymore, just because the prices are so reasonable with them, and I can't emphasize enough how worth the experience is if you use Game Time, especially if you have a family of 4 or 5 that wants to go to a game. It'll certainly help make your tickets a little bit cheaper. So head to Game Time today. In talking about the Red Sox and who fits where and where's Yoshida going to fit, are the Red Sox going to stick him in the outfield because they don't want to take playing time away from Rafael Devers? There are other players they now have to think about who are nearing their return to this Red Sox team, and that is Bello and Liam Hendriks, both of which have been rehabbing both in AAA and in AA. Both of those guys pitched in AA last night for the Portland Sea Dogs. Bello threw 4 1/3 innings, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and struck out 7. He also threw 51 of his 71 pitches for strikes, and his next start is expected to be at Fenway, most likely this upcoming Tuesday. He will make his first start with the team. So obviously, if you just hear that stat line, it's not super glamorous, definitely not as strong as his last AAA rehab start was that I saw him in. Definitely had a little bit more trouble with his command. He just made lots of mistakes in the strike zone, and he was getting hit, but he definitely did show some improvement in the swing and miss area by recording 7 strikeouts. And that's an important aspect of Bello's game that I'm paying attention to this year, is swing and miss stuff, because the biggest thing that I feel has held Bello back was his inability to get guys to swing and miss. And so that was something that I was really looking for going into this season. So 7 strikeouts is definitely notable, because that showed that he was generating swings and misses, and guys were falling for certain pitches, and that's promising for Brayan Bello. But obviously the 4 earned runs over 4 1/3 makes it seem like he wasn't incredibly sharp. Obviously, they don't really game plan for these players in a rehab start the way they would for a major league game. So that definitely is a factor. But if that was his last rehab start and he's looking good, you have to hope that he changes his approach a little bit come Tuesday. Because when I spoke to him after his AAA rehab start recently, he said that he's just working on locking in on that fastball because that is his put away pitch, and he is hoping to utilize that pitch even more and more. So going into his first start with the team, he definitely has to keep that in mind. But he's a guy who's going to come back and be part of this rotation. And the question becomes, who from the rotation is no longer a part of the rotation when he comes back? And they also have to think about this with Liam Hendriks as well, who also pitched in the Portland Sea Dogs game, which, by the way, he did something really cool. He rented a food truck out for both the Sea Dogs and Yard Goats players and front office personnel for both teams. The Hartford Yard Goats, by the way, if you haven't been to their ballpark, it is absolutely incredible. I highly recommend going. Beautiful place. So he rented out a food truck that cost about $3,000 for all of these workers and players to enjoy, which is just so generous of him. And that just shows the type of person Liam Hendriks is. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing him pitch for the Red Sox this upcoming season, especially because he posted his 3rd straight scoreless appearance in his rehab outings. He looked very solid in all 3 of these rehab appearances that he made. So he feels like he's ready to go. And when he spoke after his rehab start last night in AA, he said he is expected to be activated this weekend. So if he comes back this weekend and Bello comes back early next week, now there are some roster decisions here that we're looking at that the Red Sox are going to have to make, because Alex Bregman returns on Friday. So for that, the most logical solution is that they'll just send Nick Sogard back down to AAA, who they called up in his place when he went on the paternity list. So because of Bregman coming back, they'll likely have Sogard go back to AAA unless they decide to DFA David Hamilton, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later on today's show. But I'm thinking Sogard is the most likely scenario there. But then they'll also need to create a spot on the roster for Hunter Dobbins, because he is technically not on it right now. And the Red Sox have their starting pitcher for the series opener tomorrow listed as TBD. So a lot of people are saying that Hunter Dobbins could get called up again to make a spot start. The Woo Sox are on a road trip this week, so I didn't make the trip to Worcester to see them, so I wasn't able to speak with him or anybody else around the Woo Sox to get a better sense of that. But to my understanding, it seems like they might call Dobbins up again to make another spot start for the Red Sox on Friday, with Crochet scheduled to pitch on Saturday, and then Houck on Sunday, and Walker Buehler in the series finale on Monday on Patriots Day. So they'll have to open up a roster spot somehow for Hunter Dobbins, and then they'll have to open up spots for Liam Hendriks and Brayan Bello. So the question becomes, who stays and who goes? I'm definitely thinking Sean Newcomb is probably going to be DFA'd during one of these scenarios. Obviously, Newcomb is coming off of a really solid start last night, but overall, the inconsistency and struggles that we've seen from him early on in the season, and on top of that, the fact that the Red Sox saw him as a temporary option anyway to throw in the rotation, that to me feels like he would be the easy choice for the Red Sox to say, okay, we are going to DFA him and see if anybody claims him. And then when you have Liam Hendriks, who's coming back, then you have to decide from a reliever standpoint what kind of decision you make. Are there any relievers who are struggling more than others? One guy who stands out to me is Zach Kelly, a guy who hasn't been super consistent on the mound this year, or Josh Winkowski, a guy who got called up recently to the team, and he definitely has pitched overall pretty well compared to what everybody thought, but maybe they just send him back down to AAA if they feel like he needs more reps. But if we're going off of consistency and struggles, I could see them maybe sending Zach Kelly down to AAA to pitch there for a bit if they decide that that makes the most sense when they do activate Hendriks. And then you have Bello added to the rotation, and he's basically just replacing Newcomb. So then you have Crochet, Houck, Bueller, Bello, and Lucas Giolito gets activated, which should be shortly too, but he didn't feel great in his rehab start on Tuesday night in Portland. So he'll probably make at least one more rehab start either in AAA or AA before he gets called back up. But the other two are in line to come back. And it should be interesting what the Red Sox actually do in terms of roster moves to make these things happen. But at the end of the day, the reason I'm really excited about Brayan Bello and Liam Hendriks, Bello because he's just so eager to get back and he feels confident in the team that the Red Sox have. So maybe that positive energy that he's bringing can spread into the clubhouse. And he's just really excited to be healthy and go out there and throw. And he feels like he had some unfinished business last year in terms of his pitching performances. And he wants to go out there and prove that he can be a top-notch pitcher in this league. Then you have Liam Hendriks, who's going to return and throw in the Red Sox bullpen, a guy who's coming off of some great rehab assignments and is ready to go. He went out there and said, I'm not messing around. And that is certainly what he did not do, was mess around. Went out there, got the job done, and now just wants to focus on staying healthy so that he can do the best that he can do for his team. Because all that Hendriks is talking about is how much he misses throwing and how much he wishes he could be out there and how much he hates not being able to contribute to the team at the major league level. And he's an easy guy to root for because of everything that he's been through over the course of his career. But he's really excited to be back. And when you think about the Red Sox bullpen and where it's at right now, he could be a huge boost to that pen. If he pitches at all like he did in those rehab outings, he is going to be a guy who could be super reliable in this Red Sox pen. And that could be huge because if you add him to the high leverage group, then you have him with Garrett Whitlock, Justin Slayton, Aroldis Chapman, guys like that, the lockdown guys. And to an extent, Greg Weissert, who's definitely been improved this season from last year. If you add Liam Hendriks to that group, then you're enhancing your bullpen because you're adding a better arm and taking out somebody who may have been struggling. So both of these guys coming back, Bello and Hendriks, is going to be key for the Boston Red Sox, but be prepared for some roster moves to happen here in the coming days because of people having to be activated and making room for people who are coming back. But all I know is that these guys coming back are great leaders and have such positive attitudes. So I'm really excited to watch them come out there and throw. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about a guy who finally broke out of a painful slump in Wednesday night's game against the Rays. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I'm picking this week. Luka Doncic for more than 28 points and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds. Those seem like pretty easy basketball picks to make. So if you want to win money, definitely go with my flow and pick those. Just download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Prize Picks is awesome, but could also be so addicting if you start winning lots of money. So don't say I didn't warn you about that, but I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you love sports and feel like you want to make a little bit of extra pocket cash, because why not? The Red Sox have started to think about having to make some interesting roster decisions, adding people subtracting people, who stays and who goes as guys start to get activated, whose spots are they going to take. And a guy who really has been slumping to start the season is David Hamilton. And he finally broke out of that slump in last night's game, in which the Red Sox won 1-0. So obviously not a whole lot of offense in general. The Red Sox only had 5 hits as a team, but 1 run was enough because the pitching staff looked fantastic in that game. And the 1 run, guess what? Came from a David Hamilton home run. So he finally broke out of a very bad slump that he was in to start the season. He was slashing 0.83 with a 120 on base percentage and 208 slugging percentage with just 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases over 24 at-bats in a 10-game span. So that is obviously not good. And those numbers, when you see them, are concerning. And you say, all right, well, why would you have somebody that is performing that poorly on the team? So here is where the question comes in. Because of Alex Bregman coming back on Friday, do the Red Sox decide that they've had enough with David Hamilton? They don't feel like he provides enough value, so they decide to DFA him and give him a chance elsewhere, and then they keep Nick Sogard up in the majors for now? Or do they decide to keep Hamilton and send Nick Sogard back down to AAA because of the fact that they feel like David Hamilton has too much of a versatile skill set to where they want to keep him here? And by versatile skill set, I mean, he can run really fast. He can play decent defense in the infield. Offensively, not very good, has been off to a rough start. So his speed is primarily the one thing that is keeping him in this world of relevancy for the Boston Red Sox and being a guy who can be seen as a useful piece, because it is important to have speed. We have seen it with Jarren Duran, and we've seen it with, say, Dom Rafaela, guys who can really round the bases quickly and are turning singles into doubles and are able to steal bases at a high rate. Just puts more pressure on the opposing pitcher. And with David Hamilton, he can do that too. He's a guy who, if he finds a way to get on, can get himself into scoring position quickly. And that's why for a good portion of the season last year, due to injury, the Red Sox had David Hamilton hitting second in the lineup behind Jarren Duran, because they wanted 2 speedy guys at the top of the order so that if they both get on base, they have a runner in scoring position. And then if they pull off a double steal, then they have 2 runners in scoring position right off the bat. And it kind of sets the tone for what the game's going to be. But the problem with all of that is, if you're absolutely dreadful at the plate, is it really worth it? And does it make sense to keep a guy like that on the roster? Because yes, it's great to give guys chances, but Hamilton this year, compared to what we've seen from him before, just has not performed. And I'm not saying that Hamilton has ever been a great hitter, because he certainly hasn't, but he definitely was at least a little bit more productive than he is right now. And obviously it's only mid-April. We know there's still a ton of time for players to turn it around, but this slump has put him on notice and likely has the Red Sox saying, well, is there a spot for him? Because if they DFA him when Bregman comes back, then Bregman plays third base again like he usually does, and then you have the usual other suspects in the infield in Trevor Story, Christian Campbell, and Tristan Casas. But then Nick Sogard is kind of used as a utility guy along with Romy Gonzalez, and you can kind of mix and match people that way. So it just becomes a question of, do they feel more confident in Sogard's ability as a utility guy who's not an everyday player but could step in when needed? Or do they feel more confident in that ability with David Hamilton? And last year, in those games that Nick Sogard played up in the majors, he definitely put together some impressive numbers offensively and was able to be productive. But it's hard to know if that's something that was a little bit of a fluke and he wouldn't be able to carry that over into this season. We don't really know that for sure until he actually is out there playing. Whereas with David Hamilton, we actually have some numbers to put into it. His really abysmal start this season on top of what he has done the last couple seasons, and the Red Sox have a much larger sample size to use with him. So it's hard to really compare the two, but they need to start asking themselves, do they trust that David Hamilton can turn things around a little bit at the plate? Now, granted, he does not need to be one of the best hitters on the team because he's not going to be an everyday player. And that's the difference between David Hamilton when I have this conversation about him versus some of the other guys, is we do have to remember that he is a utility guy who is not used every day or even close to every day. We just need somebody who's durable to be that guy who can kind of jump in and fill in wherever. And that's the benefit to having Hamilton, because they could use him as a pinch runner at any time because of his base running ability with his speed. So that's something that he has going for him. So if the Red Sox decided to DFA him and he ends up going elsewhere, then you take out somebody who could be huge in pinch running situations. But it all goes back to, is the running part of his game something that makes it worth it enough for us to retain him on this team? Or is he the guy that we should move on from when Bregman comes back? I think time will tell. I still feel like they're going to keep Hamilton on the roster because I just think they like his athleticism and his versatility. And I think Nick Sogard was just up here temporarily to fill the holes of Alex Bregman, was not in the lineup on Wednesday night. So I just feel like he was kind of a placeholder, and that they'll send him back down. They'll keep Hamilton up. But if they keep Hamilton up, he better continue to hit like he did last night when he launched that home run. And I'm just really looking to see a lot more offensive productivity from him. So at the end of the day, the Red Sox do what they need to do, and they keep the guys on the roster that they feel are the most suited to helping the team win. And if they feel like David Hamilton being there because of the variety of skill sets he provides are part of that, then so be it. So we'll see how the Red Sox decide to make all of those decisions, but get excited for Brayan Bello and Liam Hendriks both to come back to the major league team. Where does Masataka Yoshida fit? That's something that the Red Sox front office is going to need to figure out how to navigate when he does come back. Is Hamilton fully out of his slump? I don't know. We'll have to see. Time will tell there. But I appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. Next, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's so fun. I love recording with the other Locked On MLB hosts just to keep people informed on everything else that's going on in the other games. So make sure you stay up to date with that. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.